Official field reports. Unedited camera footage. Pure justice. You are watching Bodycam incident reports.
Step away from the mailbox. Put the mail down, now.
This is my box. I live here. That key opens it.
You expect me to believe you own a house here?
Run the address. You have no problem.
Hands on the wall. Don't argue with me.
You're violating my rights for checking my mail.
Officer Derek Vance thought the cluster of mailboxes at the entrance of the prestigious Oak Creek Estates was his personal hunting ground. When he saw Elias Thorne standing in front of Box 4B, the slot belonging to the largest colonial home on the cul-de-sac, he didn't see a beloved AP Civics teacher who had shaped the minds of 3 generations of students. He didn't see a man who had won the State Teacher of the Year award twice. He saw a black man in a hooded sweatshirt in a wealthy neighborhood, and his mind immediately filled in the blanks with prejudice rather than facts. He threatened him with arrest, mocked his calm demeanor, and radioed for backup, while Elias tried to explain that the key in his hand opened the box he was standing in front of. Vance had no idea that the man he was humiliating was currently grading the senior thesis of the police chief's daughter, or that the mail theft he was so worried about was actually Elias retrieving a handwritten thank you note from the mayor for his community service. What you just saw was profiling masquerading as policing. A patrol officer wielding his badge like a cudgel against someone he assumed had no voice, judging his right to exist in that space by the color of his skin instead of the content of his character. You saw the confrontation. Now we're going to tell you the full story. We will take you inside the quiet, tree-lined streets of Oak Creek and the sterile hallways of the precinct to reveal what happened when Officer Derek Vance realized he had just destroyed a 15-year career in under 5 minutes. Before we continue, where are you watching from? If this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button. Stories like these need to be shared, and your support helps us bring more truth to light. Let's go back to 3:30 p.m. that Tuesday afternoon in suburban Virginia. Oak Creek Estates is a sprawling, manicured development about 40 minutes outside of Washington, D.C. It is a place of brick facades, weeping willow trees, and the kind of silence that money buys. It is a neighborhood where the lawns are cut by landscaping crews on Thursdays, and where the residents drive German luxury cars and SUVs with university stickers on the back windows. The Community Mailbox Center is a structure made of stone and cedar, designed to look like a small cottage located near the main entrance gates. It is a mundane location, a place of daily routine, yet for some it is a boundary line. Elias Thorne is 58 years old, and he carries himself with the quiet, unassailable dignity of a man who knows exactly who he is. Born in Birmingham during the tail end of the civil rights movement, the son of a librarian and a deacon, Elias learned early on that knowledge was the one thing that could never be confiscated. He graduated from Howard University with honors and obtained a master's in political science from Georgetown. He could have gone into politics. He could have been a lobbyist making 6 figures on K Street. Instead, he chose the classroom. For 30 years, Elias has taught AP Government and Civics at Liberty High School. He doesn't just teach the Constitution. He makes his students live it. He is famous for his mock trials, his debates on the Federalist Papers, and his insistence that every student, regardless of their background, understands their rights and their responsibilities as citizens. He is the teacher seniors vote most influential year after year. He is the man who stays late to help struggling students, who buys lunch for the kids who pretend they forgot theirs, who attends every football game and every drama production. On this particular Tuesday, Elias is tired. He has spent 7 hours on his feet lecturing on the Fourth Amendment and the concept of probable cause. A lesson that will soon become painfully ironic. He drove his 2018 Toyota Camry reliable, clean, paid off into the entrance of Oak Creek. He bought his home here 7 years ago, a reward for decades of frugality and hard work, a quiet sanctuary where he could grade papers and listen to jazz in peace. He is wearing a gray university hoodie, comfortable sweatpants, and running shoes. He looks like what he is, a man winding down after a long day of work. But to eyes clouded by bias, he looks like a suspect. Elias pulls up to the mail center. He leaves his car running because it's a quick stop. He steps out into the crisp autumn air, the golden leaves swirling around his feet on the pavement. He walks to the wall of brass boxes, finds number 4B, and slides his small silver key into the lock. It turns with a satisfying click. He pulls out a stack of envelopes, a utility bill, a catalog, and a thick cream-colored envelope with the seal of the city mayor's office. He is reading the return address, a small smile playing on his lips when he feels the presence of the cruiser before he hears it. The heavy creeping roll of tires on asphalt. The shadow blocking the sun. Officer Derek Vance is 34 years old and he has been a patrol officer for 12 years. He is a man who believes the world is becoming a chaotic place and that he is the thin blue line holding it together. But Derek's version of order is selective. He grew up in a town where everyone looked like him, and he views the diversification of neighborhoods like Oak Creek not as progress but as an infiltration. He has a stack of commendations for aggressive policing in his file, but also 5 excessive force complaints that were swept under the rug by a union rep who played golf with the old sergeant. Derek is having a bad week. He was passed over for a promotion to detective for the second time. His wife is talking about separation. He feels his control slipping away in every aspect of his life, so when he puts on the uniform, he holds on to that authority with a white-knuckled grip. He patrols Oak Creek looking for problems, looking for things that don't fit his mental image of the neighborhood. He sees the Toyota Camry, old enough to be suspicious in a neighborhood of Teslas and Mercedes. He sees the black man in the hoodie standing at the mailboxes. And in Derek Vance's mind, the narrative is already written. This isn't a resident. This is a porch pirate, a mail thief targeting wealthy homes while the owners are at work. Derek doesn't run the plate. He doesn't observe for a crime. He acts on instinct, and his instinct is poisoned. He pulls his cruiser perpendicular to Elias's car, blocking him in. He creates a trap before he even speaks. He rolls down the window, his arm hanging casually over the side, but his hand is already near his radio. "Hey, you step away from the box." Elias freezes. He knows this tone. He has heard it in movies, he has studied it in court cases, and he has heard it directed at his own father decades ago. He takes a slow breath, centering himself. He turns slowly, keeping the mail visible in his left hand, his right hand empty and open. "Good afternoon, officer. Is there a problem?" "I said step away from the box." Vance barks, opening his door and stepping out. He adjusts his belt, a gesture of dominance. "We've had reports of mail theft in this area. What do you think you're doing digging around in there?" Elias keeps his voice level, the same calm baritone he uses when a student shouts out a wrong answer in class. "I am retrieving my mail, officer. I live at 1402 Oak Ridge Lane. This is my assigned box." Vance scoffs, a sharp, ugly sound. He walks closer, invading Elias's personal space, trying to provoke a reaction. "You live here, in the Colonial on the Ridge. I know that house. It goes for nearly $1 million. And you expect me to believe you own it." "I don't expect you to believe anything based on assumptions," Elias says, his grip on the letters tightening slightly. "But the deed is in my name, as is the registration for that vehicle." "Let me see some ID," Vance demands, extending a hand. "Driver's license, now." Elias pauses. He knows the law better than the man standing in front of him. He knows that in this state, unless he is operating a vehicle or suspected of a specific articulable crime, he is not required to identify himself on private property. But he also knows the reality of being a black man in America. He knows that being right can get you killed. "Officer," Elias says, "I am not driving at the moment. I am standing at my community mailbox. Unless you can articulate a reasonable suspicion that I have committed a crime, I don't see why I need to show you my papers to get my electric bill." This is the wrong thing to say to Derek Vance. To Vance, an assertion of rights is a challenge to authority. It is disrespect. "You want to play lawyer?" Vance sneers. "Okay, I have reasonable suspicion right now. Suspect fits the description of individuals reported for mail fraud in the district, loitering near federal property, refusing to identify. That's enough for me to put you in cuffs until we figure this out." "Fits what description?" Elias asks, his voice hardening. "The description of a resident checking his mail." "The description of someone who doesn't belong here," Vance snaps. He unclips the retention strap on his holster. He doesn't draw the weapon, but the threat is clear. Put the mail down. Put it on the ground, step away from the box, and keep your hands where I can see them. I'm not going to ask you twice. The security camera mounted on the corner of the mail center kiosk captures everything. It captures the moment Elias Thorne, a man who has taught thousands of children to trust the system, slowly bends down and places his mail on the concrete. It captures the look of weary humiliation on his face. It captures Officer Vance moving in, spinning Elias around, and shoving him against the rough brickwork of the kiosk. "Spread 'em," Vance commands. He kicks Elias's ankles apart. He pats him down roughly, his hands searching for weapons that aren't there, checking pockets that contain nothing but a dry erase marker and a pack of gum. "You're making a mistake," Elias says, his cheek pressed against the cold brick. "My name is Elias Thorne. I teach at Liberty High. I suggest you call your supervisor." "I don't need a supervisor to handle a petty thief," Vance grunts. He finds Elias's wallet in his back pocket. He yanks it out. He flips it open, looking for the license. He sees the address, 1402 Oak Ridge Lane. For a second, Vance pauses. The ID matches the house. The picture matches the man. But the adrenaline is already high and the bias is deep. Instead of apologizing, Vance doubles down. He has to be right. If the ID says he lives here, then the ID must be fake. Or maybe he's a squatter. Maybe he's the help who stole the wallet. "This doesn't prove anything," Vance says, tossing the wallet onto the hood of his cruiser. "Fake IDs are a dime a dozen, and even if you live here, you are acting suspicious, resisting an officer." Vance keys his radio. "Dispatch, this is Unit 4 Alpha. I've got a non-compliant male subject at the Oak Creek Mail Center. Possible mail theft ring. Suspect is agitated, requesting backup." Elias closes his eyes. Agitated. He hasn't raised his voice once. He hasn't moved a muscle. But in the report, he knows he will be described as aggressive, threatening a large male. "Officer," Elias says, "inside that stack of mail you made me throw on the ground is a letter from the mayor. I am the faculty advisor for the student council. The chief of police, Chief Miller, is speaking in my classroom tomorrow morning at 8:00 a.m. If you arrest me, you are going to have a very difficult time explaining why the chief's guest speaker is in a holding cell." Vance laughs. It's a dry, humorless sound. "Yeah, sure. And I'm the King of England. Everyone's got a connection, right? You know the mayor, you know the chief. Let me guess, you play basketball with the president, too." "No," Elias says softly. "I teach the chief's daughter, Sarah Miller. She sits in the front row. She's writing her thesis on the Fourth Amendment. Perhaps you should read it." Vance grabs Elias's wrist and snaps a handcuff on. The metal bites into the skin. "You talk too much. You're under arrest for disorderly conduct and resisting arrest." "Do you think police officers should be required to carry personal liability insurance for civil rights violations?" Drop your answer below. Just as the second cuff clicks home, a black, unmarked SUV turns the corner. It doesn't have a light bar, but it has the distinct heavy suspension of a government vehicle. It slows down as it approaches the mail center. The window rolls down. Chief of Police Robert Miller lives 3 streets over. He is on his way home to change before a dinner engagement. He sees one of his patrol cars blocking the lane. He sees an officer manhandling a gray-haired man in sweatpants. Miller frowns. He stops the SUV and steps out. He is a big man, a former Marine with a presence that instantly changes the temperature of the air. "Officer Vance." Miller's voice booms across the pavement. "What is the situation here?" Vance spins around. He sees the chief. Relief washes over him. He thinks the cavalry has arrived to witness his bust. "Chief." Vance straightens up, puffing out his chest. "Caught this guy tampering with the mailboxes, refused to ID, became belligerent when I tried to question him. I've got him detained, checking for warrants now." Miller walks closer. He looks at the belligerent suspect. He sees the gray hoodie. He sees the face pressed against the brick. He stops. His eyes go wide. "Mr. Thorne." Elias turns his head as much as he can. "Hello, Chief Miller. I'm afraid I might be a little late for class tomorrow if this continues." The silence that follows is heavy enough to crush a car. Vance looks from the chief to the suspect, and the first crack of panic appears in his facade. You know this guy, Chief?" Chief Miller doesn't look at Vance. He walks straight to Elias. Officer Vance, uncuff this man, immediately. But Chief, he was... I said... Miller's voice drops to a terrifyingly low register. Take the cuffs off, now. Vance fumbles for his keys. His hands are shaking. The narrative in his head is collapsing. The thug is a teacher. The criminal is a friend of the boss. He unlocks the cuffs. Elias rubs his wrists, grimacing. Are you all right, Elias? Miller asks, his tone shifting to one of genuine concern. I'm fine, Robert, Elias says, regaining his composure, pulling down his hoodie to straighten his shirt. Just a bit of a misunderstanding regarding my residency. Apparently my ownership of a home in this neighborhood is a matter of some debate for Officer Vance. Miller turns to Vance. The look on his face is not anger. It is something worse. It is disappointment mixed with a lethal professional clarity. Officer Vance, did you run the plate on that Camry? No, sir, I saw him at the box and... Did you observe him breaking into a box that wasn't his? He looked suspicious, sir. He was hooded, in this neighborhood. He's wearing a college sweatshirt, Miller says, his voice rising slightly. It's 50 degrees out, and this neighborhood is where he lives. Mr. Thorne has been the president of the HOA for 2 years. He taught my daughter how to understand the Bill of Rights, the same document you just used as toilet paper. Vance is pale now. I didn't know. He didn't say... I told you, Elias interjects quietly. I told you I lived here. I offered to show you the key. I told you I was a teacher. You told me I was a Tom, Dick, and Harry with a fake ID. Miller looks down at the ground. He sees the mail scattered on the pavement. He bends down and picks up the cream-colored envelope. He reads the return address, Office of the Mayor. He hands the letter to Elias. Then he turns back to Vance. Get in your car, Vance. Go back to the station. Surrender your weapon and your badge to the desk sergeant. Wait for me in my office. Chief, I can explain. Go, Miller roars. Vance scrambles back to his cruiser. He peels away, leaving the silence of the suburbs behind him. Miller sighs, running a hand over his face. Elias, I don't even have the words. I am mortified. I'm sorry doesn't cut it. Elias looks at the man whose daughter sits in his front row. He knows Miller is a good man, but he also knows Miller leads a department that allows men like Vance to operate. Robert, Elias says. Sarah is writing a paper on the gap between the law as written and the law as applied. I think she just got her primary source material. You don't need to apologize to me. You need to fix the culture that made your officer think a black man checking his mail was a threat. I know, Miller says. I know. I'll see you tomorrow at 8:00 a.m., Chief. Don't be late. The students will have questions. 2 hours later, Derek Vance sits in the hallway outside the chief's office. He has been stripped of his belt. He feels naked small. He is replaying the encounter in his head, trying to find the angle where he was right where he was justified. But every time he tries to spin it, he hears the chief's voice. He taught my daughter. The door opens. Get in here, Vance. Inside, Chief Miller is sitting behind his desk. Beside him sits a representative from the Internal Affairs Division and the union rep who looks defeated before the meeting has even begun. Miller slides a piece of paper across the desk. It's a printout of the incident report Vance started but never finished, combined with the footage from the mail center security camera, which Miller has already reviewed. I watched the tape, Vance, Miller says. I watched you approach a citizen who was breaking no laws. I watched you escalate. I heard you tell him his ID was fake before you even looked at it. I heard the sneer in your voice when you talked about him living in that house. He fit a profile, Chief. Vance tries desperate. We've had thefts. Thefts reported by a blue sedan. Mr. Thorne drives a silver Camry. You didn't care about the theft. You cared that a black man was comfortable in a space you didn't think he belonged in. Miller leans forward. Mr. Thorne is a civics teacher. Do you know what that means? It means he knows exactly what his rights are. He offered you every off-ramp. He tried to de-escalate. He was polite. He was cooperative. And you treated him like a criminal because of your own bias. You humiliated a pillar of this community. I can apologize, Vance says. I can go to his house. You will not go near his house, Miller says. You are done, Vance. I am recommending immediate termination for cause. Violation of civil rights conduct unbecoming filing a false report because you radioed he was resisting when he was standing perfectly still. You can't fire me for one mistake, Vance shouts, looking at the union rep. The union rep shakes his head. Derek, you're on a last chance agreement from the incident last year. Remember the excessive force complaint at the mall? You signed a paper saying any further substantiated civil rights violations would result in immediate termination. We can't fight this. The video is clear. Vance feels the floor drop out from under him. But I have a mortgage, my wife. You should have thought about that before you decided the Constitution didn't apply to Elias Thorne, Miller says. Turn in your locker key. You're dismissed. Derek Vance walks out of the precinct into the cool evening air. He is a civilian now. He drives home in his personal truck, the silence of the cabin deafening. He has to go home and tell his wife that his instincts just cost them their livelihood. He has to explain that he lost his badge not because he was fighting a cartel or stopping a bank robbery, but because he bullied a high school teacher at a mailbox. 6 months later, the lawsuit is settled. The city pays Elias Thorne a significant sum for the violation of his civil rights. Elias doesn't keep the money. He establishes the Thorne Scholarship for Civic Engagement, a fund designed to help underprivileged students from the district attend law school. Derek Vance struggles to find work. He applies to other departments, but the termination for cause is a red flag that no background check ignores. He eventually finds a job as a night security guard at a warehouse for Amazon, making half of what he used to make with none of the benefits and none of the power. He spends his shifts walking through empty aisles of boxes, checking locks that are already locked, thinking about the 3 minutes that ruined his life. He learns what everyone eventually learns. Prejudice is an expensive luxury. It costs you your integrity, your reputation, and eventually your future. At Liberty High School, life goes on. It is Monday morning, 8:00 a.m. Elias Thorne stands at the front of his classroom. He is wearing a suit today. His wrist still aches sometimes when it rains a reminder of the metal cuffs, but his spirit is unbroken. Good morning, class, Elias says. Today we have a special guest. Please welcome Chief Robert Miller. The students applaud politely. Chief Miller walks in. He looks different than he did that day at the mailboxes. He looks humbler. He shakes Elias's hand, a firm, respectful grip. Thank you for having me, Mr. Thorne, Miller says. Miller stands at the podium. He looks at the diverse faces of the teenagers, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, the future of the country. He looks at his own daughter, Sarah, sitting in the front row, her pen poised over her notebook. Today, Miller starts. I was going to give you a speech about how police protect the community, but instead I want to talk to you about what happens when we fail. I want to talk about accountability. I want to talk about how a badge is a symbol of public trust, and how easily that trust can be broken when we forget that every single citizen is our employer. Elias leans against his desk watching. He doesn't gloat. He doesn't interrupt. He simply watches a lesson being learned in real time. The story of what happened at Box 4B didn't just stay in Oak Creek. It rippled outward. The department instituted mandatory implicit bias training led by an outside firm. They revised their policies on pedestrian stops. They installed body cameras that cannot be turned off by the officers. Elias Thorne never asked for an apology beyond the one the system gave him through change. He never keyed Vance's car, never trashed him on social media. He just let the truth do the work. He continued to teach, continued to grade papers, continued to raise young men and women who would one day be judges, senators, and police chiefs who knew better. This is the lesson Derek Vance learned too late, and the lesson Elias Thorne has taught every day for 30 years. Authority is not what you wear on your chest. It is how you treat the people who have no power over you. You never know who you are talking to. You never know whose mailbox you are standing in front of. The man in the hoodie might be the man who teaches your children how to be good citizens. The person you dismiss might be the one holding the keys to your future. So you treat everyone with dignity, not because they are authorized personnel, not because they have a title, but because they are human beings. That is the baseline. That is the law. and Derek Vance lost everything the moment he decided Elias Thorne's black skin was probable cause, and that his own badge gave him the right to be a tyrant. Comment below if you think police officers with a history of racial profiling should be banned from all law enforcement jobs permanently. And if you believe stories like this need to be told, if you think we need to shine a light on the dark corners of our justice system, then hit that subscribe button. We are going to keep exposing these patterns. We are going to keep demanding better. Because liberty and justice for all isn't just a pledge we say in a classroom. It's a promise we have to keep in the streets. This isn't just about Derek Vance or Elias Thorne. It's about the world we are building one interaction at a time. Thanks for watching.
Case analysis finalized. To stay updated with transparent operations, please hit like and subscribe. Thank you for choosing Bodycam Incident Reports.